Hi, welcome back to Walk, Run, Soar. It's day 21. We're doing number 27 in the book. And I'm sitting on the couch because I'm feeling really lazy right now, and so are these guys. Very lazy. So if this is a little more shaky than usual, I'm sorry. Usually I have this tripod thing set up on the counter. But I'm gonna try to rest my arm here so it doesn't shake so much. Okay. So this one's called Suiting Up with Proper Gear. Our verse is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 13. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. She talks about she was visiting some family in Southern California, and she was training for a race at the time, the Shadow of the Giants 20K trail race. And she knew that the race had a lot of hills at the very, very beginning, so she wanted to do some hill training. And her brother suggested a loop that was nearby, and so that's what they did, trained on that loop. And then she also talks about how important our gear can be. Having the right shoes, having the right socks, right hydration, all of that, it can make a big difference in how you do with training or a race. And checking the weather so you know what to wear, all of that's important. And so she got to thinking, as she was running on this particular loop, that she really appreciated the shoes. She had good trail shoes, and she could tell that, it was making a difference in training for this trail race. So it reminded her about how in Ephesians, in that around where that verse that I read, about the armor of God and how important that is in our faith walk. And she shares another part of that section where it says, "Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all of this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the sword of God." That's in Ephesians 6, it's 14 through 17. She talks about how Paul was writing all that from prison to the believers in Ephesus. And at the time, it was the capital of the Roman province of Asia. And the letter would circulate all around. And Paul knew it was significant. He wanted all of them to be battle ready. He knew the devil was the enemy and he would attack when we were most vulnerable. I think that's a key thing, that he attacks when we're most vulnerable, and that's why it's so important, all of us do it. I do it all the time too. We get out of our disciplines of quiet time, reading the word, blah, 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 all of that, until something bad happens. Whereas, if we're constantly ready, we're good to go. And, you have those truths already there. You don't have to, scramble to find them. And then in the process, in my case, it's always get more anxious than need be. Her faith step actually says to read that section in Ephesians, it's verses 10 through 20, aloud before your next long run or walk. And then as you're doing that long run or walk, just to imagine those different pieces of the armor of truth and to put them on and think about what they represent and, how they really are there to protect us from all the things that the devil tries to do in our lives. Our inspirational quote is from Dr. Tim Noakes, expert on running and exercise science. "Your body will argue that there is no justifiable reason to continue. Your only recourse is to call on your spirit, which fortunately functions independently of logic." It's an interesting way to look at it. Our training note from Coach Sean, he says a critical thing that you should take with you on every run is some sort of personal identification in case there's an emergency. And he talks about the brand Road ID, which I know a lot of people use. They make bracelets where you can put your information so that if something were to happen, all the information that they would need to know is right there on your bracelet. Really, I don't actually do that. I don't think I've ever run with any sort of identification on me, except I don't know if you really count my phone. But I think that is super important. You see those people that go missing all the time on the news. I know Road ID actually, along with those bracelets, also do some sort of tracking too, which I think is really good, especially if you're running somewhere not normal. Like if you're on vacation or something, I think that's super important. But Armor of God has always been one of my favorite sections of the Bible. And it's really good things to really remember, especially when you're having a hard time. I'll be honest, today it's about a little after noon right now as I'm doing this, but I've just been in a mood today. Everything is annoying me and I don't really know why, but whenever I find myself getting into these little modes, I go back to all those things that I talked about during princess training and the things I've talked about up to this point. Oh, which by the way, yay, we're halfway through Walk, Run, Soar in the season of Lent. To not think too far into the future and things that you can't control. My favorite Frozen 2 saying, do the next right thing. So just sometimes I have to focus on what am I doing in this particular minute of the day. Okay, now we're into the next minute. And before you know it, an hour has gone by and you're doing okay. So, sorry, I'm not very chipper today, but this is real and sometimes you're not chipper. But I hope everyone else is having a good day. Our sunshine went away, which is really, really sad. I think the dogs kind of know it too. They're just like, okay, we're going to take a nap. So, all right, that's what we're going to do. Well, I'm not. I'm going to do chores, but they're going to take a nap. But I hope everyone's well, and I will see you tomorrow.